Hello, my name is Jaidyn. I'm one of the senior teachers here at Vincent Music, and today I'm going to be teaching a lesson which is mainly based around some pieces in this book, which is the Alfred Basic Piano Library, Complete Level 1 for the Later Beginner. I realise there's a mirror image on this one, but this is a book that is specified for the later beginner. However, there are some useful concepts which can apply on a more broader spectrum as well. So, the pieces that I'll be looking at are in this version on pages 54. I'm going in a slightly different order. Slight brain fart. So they're going to be on pages 54 and 56, which is Concert Time as well as The Magic Man. So, in reference with Concert Time, there's a few different concepts here. If I can keep this going straight, I'll just play the piece of Concert Time. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Oh, we'll see soon. Oh, that's right. So, with this particular piece, there's a few things that we have to consider here. First, we have to consider our range of dynamics. For instance, in our first bar, we have a piano dynamic. Well, the piece is 16 bars long in total, but there are some sections which are da capo al fine as well as fine. So, with the dynamic sections that we have here, in the first 4 bars, we have a piano crescendoing all the way to what's assumed to be a forte. And we're also using the octave function, the 8VA function. So when we're talking about our octaves, the 8VA, it means that we play our hands an octave higher than written. So if you see an 8VA, if for something like this, which would be written normal, kind of normal ledger lines in the bass and treble clef, if we see the 8VA on both of these or one of these, it can happen on either one of these, you will have to play it an octave higher. This usually happens more so in the treble clef with the right hand, but with the bass hand, we have something called the 8BA, which is you play an octave lower. And if you were to be given this instruction with 8BA, instead of going higher like we did just before, we would be going lower. So that's a little introduction to the 8VA and the 8BA symbols. So 8VA means ottava, as in going an octave higher, and the 8BA, I can't remember if it's obbassa, but at the very least you go down an octave. Okay. So when we're talking about things like structure as well, I briefly mentioned the da capo al fine. So usually what happens is that I'll show this piece as a reference. It is in a mirror image, so please keep that in mind. But when we see this section here, fine, that means the end of the piece. But if we're just looking at this for the first time, not knowing what da capo al fine is, it's like, okay, we have this section right afterwards, but the piece is telling us to end here. Not quite. So, at the bottom of here, what we have is the da capo sign. So what da capo is that we, once we play our original sets of repeats for this one, because this does have a repeat, once we play this particular section, which is kind of our B section or middle section, when we see that da capo al fine, it means that we go back to where the particular sign is, or usually just go back to the beginning. So I will write this down on the whiteboard here as well. So don't mind me. I'm just going to quickly find myself a whiteboard marker. Ooh, heavens me! I am a little disorganized. Alright, got one. So, what I'm going to show here is going to be a little disorganized. So, what we have here, something along this line, right? It is not my best drawing of it, but usually it's also written down as fine. So these are the kind of main steps. I realize that the capo sign is not quite correctly drawn. It's been a while since I've drawn it myself. But with fine, it means ending. But with da capo al fine, it's going back. It means going back to the beginning, just to make sure that that's done. Pardon me. So, if I were to play this piece without the use of the da capo al fine, it would sound a little bit awkward. So I'll just bring it back up here. So concert time, ignoring all the repeats and ignoring all of the da capo al fine, it sounds something like this. That's it. If we didn't have that, we kind of lose our sense of structure there. It sounds like two completely different pieces there. So, when we have this da capo al fine, it means that we have to go right back to the beginning, so that we have this sense of musical structure. Okay, so with the Magic Man, this one is a completely different piece. It's not really legato at all. It's more of, I mean, we have some legato-like sections, but this is more of a staccato-based piece, which is a good sense of variety here. So I'll just give it a bit of a sight read here. I'm just going to skip the repeat there. So, with this one, you can see that this one, we can hear that this piece is clearly staccato. But also note that I didn't use the pedal once in this piece. This is important because sometimes you'll have pieces where sometimes using the pedal can be useful, and oftentimes it is. But in this piece, this is more of a staccato-based piece where we need to make sure our phrasing is very clean with our right hand. And we need to make sure that our left hand is very crisp. So, we also have a good variety of dynamics as well, with our piano at the beginning. When we're suddenly going to mezzo forte and moderately loud sections. And we also have a good sense of variety of something along those lines, right? And we also have a good, so I briefly mentioned that I wasn't going to play a repeat there, but a repeat is there, and it does take us back to the beginning, but it's not the same as the da capo al fine, because we only have four bars right after that repeat, which is just for our ending. So what it's basically saying is that it's just a repeat piece, and we just have 4 bars just to indicate our ending. Okay? So I'll play it a little bit slower than what I did, and I'll really make sure to indicate those repeats, and I want you to hear why I feel the need to make this piece crisp. So, another thing that I do want to talk about in this piece is the use of phrasing. I mean, I've talked a little bit about it just before, but the reason why I'm not using the piano for the pedal for this piece at all is simply because with a staccato-heavy piece, and a particular phrasing in the right hand, we need to make sure that everything is very clear. So we have a section from the third and fourth bar, which is tiki tiki tika 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 ta tika. So in the sheet music, actually, what we have here, and I realize this is some mirror image, but we have this section here. This quaver makes all the difference. So when we have this quaver, this immediately means that we have to take a bit of a breath, or otherwise we just stop playing for a moment. Okay? So when we have a section, if this wasn't written like that, if this was just written as kind of a quaver, just like a staccato quaver, or otherwise a staccato, legato, or otherwise even just legato, written in any other way, I would probably use the pedal for that, or at least have more reason to. But because of this little quaver section here, we need to make sure that our phrasing is very importantly done. This is an easier kind of piece, at least to get more used to the feeling of quavers, but we need to make sure that our phrasing is paramount. If I were to play this more legato, it's a different piece entirely, and while it's beautiful in its own way, it's just not quite the same, because this is meant to be kind of a mystery feeling, right? But the magician is here. If we didn't have these staccatos, it would really kind of take a lot of the texture that this interesting piece actually brings kind of away. So yeah, what in this particular piece, what I want you to look at is our elements of phrasing, how we go with particular set phrasing, how particular we need to be with that, as well as looking at our dynamics, because we have differences in both pieces, ranging from our quieter sections to our loud ones. So we need to make sure that we're very particular about those and practice them slowly. I may have played these pieces with speed, but for whoever's watching, I don't want you to play these pieces with speed. I want you to look at this one hands separately as well as together. Sometimes playing pieces with the different dynamics can give you a perspective as to why you need that particular dynamic. Well, whether it's playing a piece soft instead of loud, or whether it's playing a piece loud instead of soft. Sometimes doing the opposite thing can really, really help. Just to see why this piece was written, or otherwise is meant to be played the way it is. Okay? Anyway, that'll be all for today, but I hope whoever's watching and listening is having a lovely afternoon. Take care.